I got it. So, let's make it live, producer Landon. We have got the Dow down over 80 points midday. We've got the NASDAQ down over 280 points midday. Now, the NASDAQ was down more in the futures market than it is now, but that's not the story. All of this is because the memorandum of understanding has expired, and Trump's like, I have no interest in having a conversation. We should be clear of two things. In the world of perception, it's all very bad for Trump, and the people who are going to yell at me from MAGA world just got to suck it up. It's bad. Perception is really bad. And that perception, one can argue, has taken over and taken hold across the globe. That's not good for Donald Trump. Tony Katz today. Great to be with you. I know that everything can be turned around. You just got to be willing to turn it around. You have to be willing to turn it around. Like the beat. You just got to turn it around. How do you do that? Well, you have to end the regime. You have to win. Now, does ending the regime mean winning? Well, it does to me. For President Trump and for the globe, winning means total control of the Strait of Hormuz. You own it. You control it. The Iranians can do nothing to stop it. They can't slow any traffic down. We spoke last week with Stephen Yates, who knows the area, knows the region, knows the players, knows the topics. And the conversation was all about how there are definitely ships, tanker ships going through that have turned their trackers off. If that's the case, we should be seeing more oil flow through. But what did we see this morning? Oil over $80 a barrel on the West Texas crude. Oh, I'm sorry. Oil over $85 a barrel. Brent crude, which comes out of the oceans, we saw over $90 a barrel. As a matter of perception, this is not good for President Trump, and I want to make sure that I am engaged fully with the people who are all MAGA all the time. You understand that I'm right, even if you're not willing to admit that I'm right, because I'm right. It's not because I want to be, it's because I am. Because we honestly are looking at the situation. Where I push back against the people who want to say things like Trump lost or Trump doesn't have the will. I'm going to have this conversation with Leland Vittert of News Nation in a little bit. That conversation exists only and solely in somebody who plays by a traditional standard. If Trump today was able to send in a mix of troops, including an arming of the Kurds, and scatter the IRGC to the four winds, he can claim victory. He can claim victory 100%. Now, he always sets himself up in a way where he can claim victory. Our argument is he is not doing enough to show victory. As a matter of perception, this is not going well. Doesn't matter to me what Stephen Chung says. Doesn't matter to me what J.D. Vance says. Doesn't matter to me what name the MAGA source says. It's not going well. He doesn't look good in this. I mean, I hate to be a guy who has to quote John Bolton. I feel bad about quoting John Bolton in this regard. But on this argument, on this point, one could argue that he might indeed have a point.
Well, how long do we have? I mean, he obviously didn't understand fully when he started what his objectives were. He didn't prepare for the possibility of an extended conflict, and he hasn't known how to measure what progress he's making toward his objectives. Look, I come from the perspective of having believed for over 20 years that there will not be peace and stability in the Middle East until the regime in Tehran is removed. I hoped, at the beginning of this conflict, that's maybe what Trump wanted. I don't know what he wanted. I think it's clear he doesn't think strategically. He has a short attention span, and we are where we are now in large measure because of that. I don't know what Providence is going to do to help Trump out of the mess he's made, but I think in the near term, the more pressure we put on Iran, the harder it's going to be for the Revolutionary Guard to carry out the kind of threats they're making. I think we made a big mistake at the end of the 6 weeks of attacks by stopping, and I think we're paying for that in substantial measure right now.
Now, you already know that I'm a believer in this. We should never have stopped. But when it comes to strategy, I agree that President Trump isn't interested in the strategy that I'm interested in. I've been trying to figure out where his strategy is as well. Trump's strategy is always, I will get to it on my timeline, and until I'm ready to get to it, everything is exactly where it should be. Because if I wanted something to change, I'd go about changing it. It is his entire methodology. This methodology has worked for him time and again and again and again and again. Why would he change it? I argue the reason to change it is perception. You started it, you got to finish it. And by not finishing it, you look weak. Now, looking weak is different than being weak. We should be clear about that. You could talk to me about munitions used. You could talk to me about not being fully prepared in the world of drones. Sure. We can get that together rather quickly. And if we weren't fully prepared to deal with drone warfare and be able to handle it with other drones, so it's not costing us $4 million to a $40,000 drone, it's costing us dollar for dollar, therefore saving us a whole bunch of dollars, I'll agree with you. Let's fire 23 generals. Let's fire those who did not engage any level of preparedness. I am the guy who wants to take every general and every leader who took a look at Afghanistan for 20 years and said, you know what we need to do? We need to build them a military that's based on air support. And then when the moment came, we pulled out all the air support and they fell to the Taliban in 11 days. I want generals in jail because of it. Those people, the disservice they did, 20 years of treasure for 11 days. How dare you still get a pension? How dare any of these people still get paid? How dare they walk the earth like free men? What they did was sinful. The president needs to accept the fact that right now, what the world sees is a guy who won't finish. Now, this brings about the question of willpower, right? Does he have the inner strength to get this done? My belief is yes, he does. He has the capacity. I should say it that way. He has the capacity. What is keeping him from getting it handled? What is keeping him from doing this thing? What is it that's stopping him? Great, solid, legitimate question. Can he not handle a high oil price? The oil price is everything, and therefore pushing Iran to the limit and taking out this regime once and for all is going to bring up the prices too much, and it's too much to bear. Well, look at where I just said we were. I've got the markets down, I've got the NASDAQ down, and I got the oil prices at over $85 a barrel. Now, this is still lower. It's still lower than where it was with Biden. Neither here nor there in terms of gas prices overall. But this is, if the president didn't want this, then it had to be handled through winning. Because this is the perception issue. Now, allow me to engage some disagreement. Anyone paying attention to the war in Ukraine would have known we weren't ready for this new way of fighting wars. I'm going to disagree with this vehemently. Vehemently. One could argue that we don't have enough drone warfare opportunities. Okay, I could see that. We need to be even better at that front. I can handle this. But the idea that we aren't ready to destroy the enemy, we have everything at our disposal to destroy an enemy. The only thing we need to do is destroy the enemy. In order to do that, we have to accept certain things. First, some people might not like us, and that starts with Democrats in the press, but I repeat myself. You may have some upset college students. You have to take to the Oval Office, explain what you're doing, and say to all those college students, those young men and women, that they don't know what the hell they're talking about. If they had their way, the country would be destroyed. Ridicule is man's most potent weapon. That's what they want to use. You got to use it right back. But you can do it through sheer honesty and bluntness. You can and you should. All we need to do is be willing to accept the fact that the press is not going to like you and other nations are going to recoil in horror. But when the enemy is dead, that's what they'll remember. Who cares if some leader of name the European Ponce nation clutches their pearls and says, oh my gosh, sacre bleu. I'm assuming that's what they would say, even in Germany. To quote the West Wing, they'll like us when we win. This would be my mantra when I am president of the United States. And I am 4 seconds away from making that announcement, because why not? I mean, if there's now going to be advice from Marco Rubio not to run, well, somebody's got to make sense of the thing. They'll like us when we win. It is us or them. That is a methodology. Now, I believe that Trump believes in this methodology. But what he has allowed to happen is he has allowed for the perception to get away from that. And to the extent that John Bolton is right here, John Bolton is right that you never should have stopped after the 6 weeks. Well, we ran out of munitions. No, we maybe were low on this, or maybe we were low on that, or maybe we weren't at all. Maybe we weren't at all. But it doesn't mean you stop doing anything. You keep at them in other ways. Well, Tony, what about the economic sanctions? Oh, I like the economic sanctions. I was told by Scott Bessent there were going to be new economic sanctions. Where are they? What does the Trump administration say? We're going to get to everything. We're doing this and we're doing that. What are you in such a rush for? We're doing the things. I'm not in a rush. I don't need to worry. You don't need to worry. We've got this well in hand. Oh, you can keep saying it, but it isn't how it is seen. If you want to argue that the market is down because the memorandum of understanding expired, well, we can then be clear that the people who work on Wall Street are the biggest dopes who ever lived. The MOU worked for a day and a half, and then 58 and a half days it did nothing. It expired yesterday, and now all of a sudden the market's down. Stop it. By the way, the market will be up tomorrow. It's not like this is the end of civilization today. They were just looking for a reason to show their displeasure because oil prices are too high. Fine, great, wonderful. The president has to decide what is the perception he wants out there. What is he going to leave the world with? He can argue that he was misled. I think that's a foolhardy argument and one of absolute surrender. If the president says I was misled by Pete Hegseth or anybody else, that is absolute surrender. I would call the man pathetic to his face and not think twice. You're in it. And the grown-up realizes they're in it and then says, okay, what can I do about this? How do I handle this? How do I get this better? That's what they do. How do I make this work better? How do I get what I need out of this? You need Iran not to have a nuclear weapon? Well, then they can't have a nuclear weapon. You need to show China that you can handle any threat anywhere and they better be afraid? Well, then you better make sure that China sees how afraid they can be. The idea of winning is a very unique idea in that it can be seen in a lot of ways. For Americans, we control the strait. Barrel price of oil goes down to $65.40 a barrel, and everyone says, oh, look, gas is affordable again. Ain't that great? That's winning for the Americas, for the American. Winning on the world stage, letting everybody know you really can't mess with us. We are that much better than you. And that's what we showed until we didn't. Maybe we'll show it again. Maybe winning is reminding Saudi Arabia and Turkey and Pakistan, which have signed this pact, that when we decide, you will follow. Oh, gosh. So we're an imperialist nation? No. We didn't take any land, and we're not going to take Iran, although we should take the oil. But the president's going to have to make a call here because he's losing the perception battle, no matter what he thinks and his team thinks and MAGA thinks. And that's not good for him. If he's going to take my advice, end the regime today. Would you please? That'll solve all your problems. This is Tony Katz today. Yeah, I don't think it is. I do not think. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. It's like it did not show up on the Twitter. That's very odd. Guys, welcome. Hey, how are you? Good to see you. Yeah, it does have me alive right there. Let me see. That is weird. Yeah, it's not showing the video. I don't know what's happening. I have no idea what has happened to today's stream, man. Like something went wrong somewhere. There we go. There we go. Guys, I'm sorry. I don't know what the heck is. It's not a technical issue. It's a subscription issue. Did something wrong. Did something very, 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 very wrong. Wish I could figure that out. The Attorney General of Minnesota is now announcing a lawsuit against ICE officers. Fantastic. That's super helpful. ABC is now suing the FCC. This is about a challenge to broadcast licenses. The FCC was looking at ABC about DEI practices and equal time rules. Listen carefully. First of all, I'm Tony Katz. The show is Tony Katz Today. Guys, thanks for being here. I appreciate you guys being here. There is no doubt that Jimmy Kimmel's show is the impetus. And there's no doubt that Jimmy Kimmel's show is a paid advertisement, an in-kind advertisement for the Democratic Party every single day it is on the air. Anybody at ABC who wants to say otherwise, at Disney who wants to say otherwise, is a liar and a fraud. On every single level, it is what it is. One can argue that that isn't something that we should want in the airwaves. I'm on the airwaves. I have a point of view. Now, the fact that I'm more honest and more entertaining than Jimmy Kimmel is inconsequential. The fact that he makes more money than I do, infuriating. No, seriously, infuriating. It's like, what the hell, man? But I don't know where the challenge is actually going to work. I don't know where the challenge is actually going to come from. I don't know how it's going to survive here, meaning the FCC's challenge. If the argument is that because of this guy's programming or the View programming, it's unfair, I think that's going to fall flat. If the argument is they are engaged in hiring practices as a license holder that are against FCC regulations, well, that could be interesting. That could be interesting. But based on the content that goes out, it isn't gonna hold. It's just not. And I think Brendan Carr's got to know that somewhere. We will get into ABC, especially when it comes to how they engage censorship on behalf of Fauci. This is Tony Katz Today. I will be right. Stay right there. Stay right there. This won't play long. I'll be right back. I used to have snacks in my studio. I do keep chocolate in the studio because of the cigars. Oh, they go great together. What was that, Landon? No, not at all. Chocolate's never my go-to, but sometimes you're smoking and your stomach can get upset. It's very helpful. Very, very helpful. I'm getting texted weird stuff. Anyway, better. Can I say it's a weird news day? Like, what is the top story today? I've been trying to figure it out. I'm like, I don't know. Whereas I do this for a living. I have no idea what the top story today is supposed to be. At all. So if you have an idea of where I should be right now, what is the top story today? What should I be talking about right now as we speak? Well, I've got the Fauci stuff. I'm going to get to that. What is the top story right now? What is everybody chatting about? What should we be chatting about? All right, I will do the Natalie Harp story. It's really an ugly story. And John Ossoff is a really ugly guy, and the Democrats are, and they don't care who they destroy. I've got Mark Kelly campaigning for John Ossoff right now. All right, we're coming back. Excellent. Guys, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm having a weird thing with the live stream. It's not connecting everywhere, but the show goes on, boo-boo. That's how we work. Let's go do some radio. The counter to an argument can't be, but Trump. If something is wrong, it is wrong. And if you told me it was wrong when Trump did it, how is it not wrong all the other times? Well, Tony, what happens when you say, I'm not going to take a lecture from the left on someone's mental acuity when they wouldn't talk about Joe Biden? The difference is we talked about Joe Biden. We were honest about all the things in all the places. The dishonest person doesn't now get to lecture to me. That's the argument. And there are people on the left who said things. There just were people who were shouted down. There were people who were kept quiet. This is going to bring us to some real insanity about ABC News, Anthony Fauci silencing, and then a reminder that Chris Cuomo isn't a good guy. And I like News Nation as a network. I think they've got some serious people there. I like that they picked up Katie Pavlich. I do. Leland Vittert, who will be on the show later, this guy took hit after hit when he was at Fox because he would ask questions about Trump or not be 100% all Trump, and Trump would go at him, and he'd be like, whatever. I respected the daylights out of it. Tony Katz today, good to be here, good to be with you. Being never Trump never made any sense. The never Trumpers are amongst the weakest mindset people in the history of American politics. Don't sit there and tell me, David French, you're some kind of true conservative. I'm never Trump. That's not a conservative position. The conservative position deals with reality. Then it deals with policy. You see, I want these things here, but these are my two choices over here. I got to make a decision. Which one gets me closer to where I'm going? Or being against which one makes my life more difficult? There was no question that Donald Trump was a better choice than Hillary Clinton. No question. And anybody who engaged the otherwise of, well, I'd rather vote for no one than vote for Donald Trump, this was fraud. You're absolutely full of crap. And you don't get to talk to me about conservatism. And that includes people like Rick Wilson, a chump of a guy. If you want to know what it would be like if all the fathers in the world gathered all of their thoughts on what a disappointment in a child would look like, it would look like Rick Wilson. I mean, all of them. Just factual. I don't take lectures from the people who were never honest about their situation. Honesty requires us saying, I may not like this or may not like that, but I've got this choice or I've got that choice, and I am a grown-up and I'm dealing in the world and I have to make a decision. Trump was the better choice against Hillary. Trump was the better choice against Biden in 2020 and against Kamala Harris in 2024 or whomever the Democrats would have appointed. Well, we'll never know because they gave us Kamala. They didn't even give Democrats a chance to vote. They took the millions of votes for Joe Biden. They said to those Democrats, forget you. You don't count. I don't take lectures from these people, but these people like to lecture. The latest lecture involves Jon Ossoff. Jon Ossoff is the senator from Georgia. And no, as a matter of policy, I'm not a fan. As a matter of how weak of a person he is, I'm not a fan. And Jon Ossoff, at a rally the other day, decides that this is a good time to start a new line of attack. And the new line of attack is, how do we go after Donald Trump? Well, that's always the line of attack, right? And he said, you know what I'm going to do? I am going to go after Natalie Harp. That's what I'm going to do. I am going to use this moment to go after Natalie Harp. And this is what he said, and this might have been innocuous to you. This might have been a nothing to you. But it was something.
And while the sailors on the Lincoln fight his war, while he fruitlessly drains our munitions and oil reserves, the president sleeps through his meetings. He golfs and trades stocks. See, he doesn't want to do the job. He wants to build his ballroom and travel with Natalie on their apparently defenseless flying palace gifted by the Emir of Qatar.
Now, if you wanted to discuss stocks, you're more than welcome to, and there's a great argument to be made. Who is Natalie? Natalie is Natalie Harp. And Natalie Harp is an aide to President Trump, an assistant to President Trump. And Natalie Harp's story, not being an expert on it, is she had cancer and was one of the people pushing for right to try legislation. She wanted to be able to get treatment for bone cancer. And right to try legislation, which had bipartisan support. One of the people who led the charge was the former senator from Indiana, Joe Donnelly, who under Biden was the ambassador to the Holy See, to the Vatican. And from that, and speaking at the 2020 convention, and she credits Trump with saving her life, she became a staffer and an advisor and an assistant. She spends a lot of time with the president. So, of course, it has to be they're having a sexual relationship together. I have no idea if they are or they aren't. I don't spend any time thinking about it, and I'm not about to. I know that Congressman Eric Swalwell, former Congressman Eric Swalwell, had sex with a Chinese spy who put people on his staff, and the Democratic Party, including Senator John Ossoff, didn't care. They didn't do anything about it. They had nothing to say about it. Dianne Feinstein had a Chinese spy as her driver. They didn't care. But let's make an insinuation about Natalie Harp that she is getting a little frisky with the president. This is their policy. Destroy, destroy, destroy. When asked about this on CNN, because, well, where else are you going to go to ask the important questions? When asked about this on CNN, you have, I think his name is Bill Stepien, giving an answer about it. And you have Keith Boykin, this ridiculous progressive, chiming in with the classic leftist answer.
The follow-up there from the senator should have been an apology, because I agree. It was below the belt. The reason for the freak out,
You work for Donald Trump.
The reason,
you work for Donald Trump. How dare you say anything is below the belt when you work for Donald Trump in the White House?
Keith Boykin, a weak excuse for a man. It's okay to impugn the character of Natalie Harp. It's okay to engage in innuendo. It's okay to engage in speculation. It's okay to call Natalie Harp a whore because it's an attack on Trump and therefore everything's okay. That is so-called man Keith Boykin. That's the leftist mind. Now, I have a very clear policy on affairs. I start with, I don't care unless you're an elected official. I didn't care at all if JFK was getting his freak on with Marilyn. I care that he did it on America's dime. I didn't care, as I quite literally smoke a cigar while I do the show. I never cared what Bill Clinton did with Monica Lewinsky. I never cared. I cared that he did it on my dime. When you're the president of the United States, you came to me and said, I want a job. And I said to you, okay, but there are rules to the job. And once you've got the job, you've got the job until you are out of the job. That job is 24/7, 365. And in those 24/7, 365 moments, you work for me. Even when you're on vacation, you work for me. You don't get to have dalliances because that means you're not working. You're not working. If you have time for a little bit of slap and tickle, you're not doing the job that I sent you there to do. You asked for my vote. You wanted to be called president. You wanted to have the nice planes. You wanted to have the nice limo rides. You want to have the good parking spots. Everybody, oh, yes, sir. Oh, no, sir. All right. Wait, sir. Anything you want, Mr. President. They bring you ice cream and you want ice cream. You have got a button on your desk and boom, the Big Macs show up. Fine by me. You do the job. You don't get the time for recreational activities. The only thing that is allowed to bump is your hand on the desk demanding that more work be brought to it for the American people. The end. I don't give a damn about your personal life. I don't care. Oh, and I don't want to hear about it. Now, are you allowed to raise your family and spend time with your kids? Yeah. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that. Right until there's a moment in which case you get back to work. Because if your kids were the thing you wanted to focus on most, my advice to you would be don't run for president. There was a moment in my life where I considered running for Congress. I don't think that's a real surprise to anybody. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody who knows me. I don't think it's surprising anybody who's listened to the show for more than a second. Now, never mind that I don't know if I would actually enjoy Congress. Senate, maybe. Other positions, yes. Congress, the House, is... that's when I still kind of try and wrap my arms around. I didn't because my kids were still too young. I didn't want that for them. I made a decision that I wanted the thing that I wanted, so therefore I couldn't do this other thing, because if I do the other thing, you don't get that thing. That thing takes a back seat. You asked for the vote. You wanted all the trappings. You want to wear the special pin. You want to get the special access. You want to be... You do the work. You do the work. So I've always had this philosophy. But I will state for the record that what the progressive left is doing is the progressive left is saying, we don't care who we burn, who we destroy. We don't care about women at all. Let me say for the record, I want to be quoted, Keith Boykin doesn't care about women at all. He will use any woman he can find to build his political power base, to go after the people he politically disagrees with. He doesn't care what happens to them. He will leave them in the dust. Maybe he'll leave some money on the dresser. That's Keith Boykin. I said it. I meant it. I'm not apologizing for it based on his commentary you just heard. John Ossoff is the same way. You want to go after Trump for policy? Do it. You want to go after Trump? You want to talk about stocks, for example? Go talk about the stories. You want to go after Natalie Harp? You're a scumbag beyond scumbag, Senator Ossoff. Keith Boykin. You don't deserve votes. You don't deserve ratings. And neither one of you are men. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Welcome back, everybody. Tony Katz today. Answer to one of the questions in the chat room. Trivia night is October 8th. We should be announcing ticket sales next week. I believe we will get that done. Maybe it'll come this week. Yes, trivia night is October 8th, Thursday, October 8th. Very much looking forward to it. It's going to be great. It's going to be fine. I certainly hope it works. There's a possibility, because we're a little focused on floods right now, maybe it'll get delayed. I could see that. I don't mind that. We can move it to the beginning of, end of October. I don't think we're going to do anything beginning of November because we've got the election, and I may take a vacation immediately after that. Just like election day is the 3rd, report on the 4th, gone on the 5th. Because it's going to be a craze. And what are the odds we're even going to know anything? No, we're not going to do it on Halloween, Claudia. That's not going to do it. And as for where, I can't tell you yet. Beth, you need to be kept constantly in the dark. That is where it's at. I don't think I could say yet. But I'll let you know. Not too far. Not too far. If you're in the Indianapolis area, it is pretty easy. There you go. All right. Coming back in 30 seconds. Looking forward to it, though. I do like the idea of the trivia nights, and I've got a bunch of those getting prepared. Yeah, we're going to be doing more than just one. Got dirt in my keyboard. What the hell? I think it was ash. Is this a real story that Congressman Randy Fine was knocking on doors for votes and went through someone's mail? No. Really? Yeah, someone's got it on Ring camera. He rings the bell. I think he's heavier than this dude. And then he's like, rings the bell. He's waiting. And he's like, hey, vote for me, right? One of those kinds of things. You got to go knock on the doors. And then there's a mailbox like on the wall. And he opens it. I guess he's going to put something in there. And he's like, there's a little bit of a rifling through it. Like, what's in here? And then is he trying to figure out if they're on vacation? I cannot figure out what he's doing. I cannot figure out what he's doing here. It's from TMZ, and it's a crazy, it's a ridiculous story. Because why would you ever put yourself in that place? Why would you ever be caught doing this? You ring a bell, and there's obviously a car waiting for you. And you're like, are they here? Are they not there? You know what? I've got a little pamphlet, got a little flyer. Maybe I'll put it in the mailbox. But instead, he's staring at it, and then he goes to look at it, and he's like, wait, what's this? I think he's looking like, wait, are these people on vacation? I don't want to give them something. It's just, they haven't gotten their mail in a while. But it's weird. It's very weird. Could everyone just be normal? Just don't go through the mail. Don't put yourself in that position. This is Tony Katz today. It's not, no. So is that a federal crime to look or to play or to take? Because I could argue he was debating whether or not these people were actually home. Like, that's what it seemed to me. Like that, I could picture myself being like, wait, are they here, not there? Like if I was going to put something in a mailbox. If I put a flyer in a mailbox, is that the federal crime? Is that what that is? in any case, it's still silly. Why put yourself in that position? That's the part that I don't understand at all. So here's the story. We are in radio break right now. So we're going to take the break right here. I've got 3 more things to get to. I've got Fauci and ABC, Chris Cuomo embarrassment. Some things did not age well. Then I have the Florida primaries to go over. So a lot happening. So hang loose, keep it here, smoke them if you got them. And we'll be back in just a little bit. Welcome back, everybody. Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. What do I think about Dan Bongino coming back to radio? He's coming back 3 to 6, and he's going to do the first hour with Sean Farash from 3 to 4. I think it's interesting. I think it's very interesting. And part of what I dig about, I mean, do what you want, Dan, make your, be happy. I wonder if it's an argument for I'm already doing the work. I might as well be able to capitalize on the financial opportunity of radio as well as podcast. I just wonder if podcast really does monetize as well. Maybe for the guys in the top 10. What about the people in the 1,000 to 500,000? I want to know. But overall, I like it. Good. Welcome back, baby. Good to see you. Let's get to the show. So Anthony Fauci, whom I'm telling you is guilty. Too soon? No? Right on? That's what I thought. Anthony Fauci had more power than we thought. And we already know for a fact that he was the science. He was the guy who said you could not question me. He is the guy who moved heaven and earth to ensure that conversations didn't happen all across the country. He was aided and abetted by a media that was desperate to help silence other people. He's proud of this. He's always been proud of this. He loved the power. He loved the control. And more than anything, he loved not giving you the total story. Tony Katz today. A pleasure to be with you. Live streaming YouTube and Rumble. Check it out for yourself. Just go to Tony Katz. There, Tony Katz today, I should say, on both of those places. And you could be a part of what's happening. On the Twitter X, Tony Katz. On Facebook, Tony Katz Radio. So the story goes that Terry Moran was an ABC host. Terry Moran is an anti-Trump zealot. And Terry Moran tells a story, and this was a clip that I got from over there on the Hill, even though I don't like the show, nor do I like the hosts, certainly their politics, never mind anything I feel about their hosting capability. And they share this story directly from a former ABC reporter, Terry Moran.
The day that it's supposed to air, it gets reviewed, and it comes back to me, and it is incomprehensible. Lawyers' standards. And I was told, Fauci.
It was a story about COVID. ABC was going to do a story about COVID. And on the day that it was going to air, on the day that it was going to play out, it got the kibosh. And the reason it got the kibosh was in part Dr. Anthony Fauci saying no. That's a lot of power. Now, I stated on Newsmax last night, Ed Henry's show, I wonder if I have that somewhere, that I want to now hear from all of those people who told me that a free press is necessary that one has to have a free press, and Trump is attacking the press. Remember all of these things? I have not heard from them any level of outrage. Why not? Why has there been no outrage? Why is there not an absolute anger, a disgust, a rage amongst the journalists that a story was spiked because the subject of the story, and any story about COVID is Fauci as the subject of the story, disapproved of it? Where else would this have been remotely acceptable? Where else could this have been remotely approved of? How is it they are not levels of absolute outrage, screaming and yelling about this thing? Now, I told you I was on with Newsmax last night. I was on with Ed Henry, and I queued it up. I found it. This is just a little bit of it right here.
Drink Smoke radio program and all kinds of great broadcasts. Gentlemen, always good to see you on a Monday. Tony, I applaud Terry Moran for saying the truth slowly, I guess. It took him a few years. Isn't this too late? Fauci killed that story too, covered it up.
I was told by officials, by people in the know, that democracy dies in darkness. This was the exact phraseology that the Washington Post used. This was the conversation utilized against President Trump. He said this incorrectly. He's lying about this. He's saying this wrong, etc. This is the scandal, and this is the story. When Anthony Fauci told you, quote, "I am the science," unquote, I guess he meant it. To have that level of power and that level of control, and to be able to sit on a story that long. The only story we could think of maybe longer was knowing that Joe Biden was incapable of actually being president, and how many on the progressive left sat on that story while the three of us and many others were engaged. And there's something wrong with President Joe Biden. This is an obscenity. And if there aren't journalists screaming tomorrow morning, then you know that your lack of faith in those journalists was well-founded. Period. What this story shows us, what the story shows us is that they moved heaven and earth for you not to have a conversation and for you not to be able to hear different points of view. And I say you, but I mean me as well. We, us, together. They moved against us. That's what the story is. But what the reaction shows, the lack of reaction, I should say, is that they don't care. They don't believe in journalism. They don't believe in the sharing of stories. They believe in the pushing of narrative. What is the line? Is this Orwell? Wait, is it? Maybe it's not Orwell. PR is printing what the other person doesn't want printed. No, journalism is printing what the other guy doesn't want printed. Everything else is PR. Public relations. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. And they do not care. And they did not care. And they still don't care because there's no journalism. Jake Tapper thinks he's a journalist. Honey, sit down. They think they're journalists there at MSNBC? There's no journalism. Where's the outrage? Where is the White House Correspondents Association to write a statement? Where the National Association of Black Journalists is out there condemning Stephen A. Smith for not being supported enough of black journalists. If you're a black journalist or a white journalist, and oh my gosh, we separate this way, where is the journalists' outrage? And because of the total lack of it, 24 hours later, we know that they're not journalists. They don't care. They are narrative pushers, propagandists, whatever it is you want to call it. You were right not to trust them. And you're still right. I want to say for the record that there's nothing to cheer about that. That's awful. We're all screwed by this. We are all damaged by this. We are all hosed by this. They are not to be trusted at all or in any way. Nothing to trust. Zero. You want more proof of it? Don't worry, kittens. I got more proof of it. This was Chris Cuomo back in the day at CNN before he got himself fired and then decided to take a job with News Nation where they were only giving him $1 million a year, and he discussed openly how embarrassing it is to work there. I want all the best for News Nation. I really do, but I have never understood this hire. I said it then, I say it now. Other hires, I mean, maybe not my cup of tea, but at least you could argue they're doing the job. Some hires, fantastic. Fantastic. But this was Cuomo, back in the CNN days, complaining that Scott Atlas, Dr. Scott Atlas, was allowed to speak publicly.
Dr. Atlas, okay, a guy with no pandemic experience. He literally would know more if he stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night. He's saying, hey, you in Michigan, these measures to help try to control the spread, fight back. Are you kidding me? Shame on you. What kind of doctor would tell people to rise up and...
Sorry about that. Didn't mean for that to go away right there. Let me get back to it.
Tell people to rise up and resist. The only kind of prophylaxis that can help them. What the hell is the matter with this person?
You mean the doctor? You mean the doctor who knows more about things medical than you? Than your brother, the then governor, who sent the elderly back to their deaths and to kill others in nursing homes? Maybe he knew more than you. But look at this chastising on cable news against the doctor you disagreed with.
Rise up. You rise up and do your job or get the hell out. How could you give this kind of advice? Of course, Fauci was being measured. He says, I don't agree with his position. This isn't Fauci's fight. The science is obvious. This is about Trump and the Trumpers. He's going to have his main health guy stand up and say, fight back against the regulations to keep you safe. Listen to him. I'm not making it up.
And this kind of isolation is one of the unspoken tragedies of the elderly who are now being told, don't see your family at Thanksgiving. For many people, this is their final Thanksgiving, believe it or not. What are we doing here?
What the hell are you doing here? Yeah, it could be their last Thanksgiving. If you expose them to people who aren't wearing masks, who aren't socially distancing, and haven't been doing so, and haven't gotten tested, because they somehow think they don't want to get in on the con of COVID. You know, you want to hide on state news, you do it. But someday, you're going to have to deal with real questions.
Oh, look at the tough guy. Real questions, huh? Someday. What do you mean there, Chris Cuomo?
And either you're going to come on a show or you're going to do it. But you know what? We may go back to old school. And maybe the questions will come find you. Maybe when you're living your life nice and easy, because you don't have the concerns that these same people that you're telling to rise up, that they have. Maybe the questions will come and find you, because you have to answer for that kind of guidance, let alone as a doctor. Do no harm? Invite grandma? This could be her last Thanksgiving? Yeah, if you invite her to a place where she can get sick and die. Thanksgiving's right around the corner, and you know what? We do have to think about what we're thankful for. And we also have to think about what we're thankful for getting past, okay?
So let the questions come now to Chris Cuomo. I don't know, maybe I have to hire some people to go ask Chris Cuomo a whole bunch of questions. I don't know, anybody want to take a road trip? Where is he based in New York? Is he based in Chicago? I don't know. Maybe the question's got to come to him. when you were chastising a medical doctor, having no degree of your own and having no concept of what this disease was, and most importantly, you didn't have any proof of its level of spread and how it spread. What was your real impetus for saying all this? What was your impetus for attacking him? And then what was with the tough guy stuff of the threats that the question's going to come to you? Now the question comes to you, tough guy. God, do I hate tough guys? It's like listening to President Trump say that we're going to bomb the blank out of Oman. What are you doing, sir? If you want to bomb them, bomb them. Don't say the words. Don't do it. You sound silly. You sound like Chris Cuomo. Does anybody want to sound like Chris Cuomo? I didn't think so. They didn't care that there was another thought. They didn't care that there was an issue with how people were being treated and the loneliness and serious things. They didn't care if grandma died alone. They liked it. Made for good TV. It was an important sacrifice to, Lord only knows what it is they sacrificed themselves to. Fauci censored ABC. CNN went on the warpath against any doctor who they determined wasn't towing the proper line. You didn't engage any expert opinion on anything. And they wonder why they don't get trusted anymore. Well, you're right not to trust them. You're right not to trust the mainstream media, and you're right not to trust Dr. Fauci. And right now, you're right not to trust groups like the CDC and others. They haven't earned it. And the media, they don't care if they have it or not. They're going to keep believing that they're in charge. We're going to keep deferring to these three-letter nonsense outfits. We have to change what we do. We have to change quick. They can't be trusted. And that's going to be the way it is for a long time. This is Tony Katz today. So I'm pretty sure I just sent out my second only ever meeting invite through my work email. We use Outlook. I've never had to. I've sent maybe once before. I think this is the second one. I feel very official sending out a meeting invite. Like I'm a grown up. Like I'm all sorts of grown up. Let's see. So I have my people out and about. I have people out and about, and I've got one of them at Costco right now, sending me pictures of bottles of bourbon available at Costco, and whether or not I want those bottles. I'm like, no, not those, not those. Let me see what this is here. That's Old Forester, which lovely, but no, we're not going to do that. Not going to do that right there. Then I have this. This is a story over at Tablet Magazine where somebody's finally listening to me. This is about the attack on the synagogue in New York, and this guy walks in, he's yelling at people and starts hitting people. Because, this is what happens in Mamdani's New York now. Not one person at Central Synagogue last Friday night saw the fat, frothing attacker shout obscenities and thought, hey, I ought to step up and defend myself, my family, my fellow congregants. Consequences be damned. Because too many American Jews have been taught that security is serious business, best left to trained professionals, that risk assessment meant it was best to run for cover, and that safety meant paying more and more for consultants and guards and cameras and metal detectors and hoping for the best. I want the credit where it's due. Buy guns, buy ammo, and get trained. Anyone who shows up to their house of worship not armed wants to get harmed. Every single one of them wants to get harmed. And any rabbi or any priest or pastor who says you can't come armed to this place of worship, fire them or quit. None of them are worth your time or attention or your love. They are indecent and they want you to die. Now, I'm willing to say that anywhere. I'll say it on TV. I'll say it on radio. I'll say it here on the radio and on the video. I will say it in the synagogue. I will say it in the church. Just invite me. Any faith leader who doesn't believe in being armed in your place of worship, unworthy. Well, it's terrible that we should have to do that. Sure, it's terrible, but we live in the real world, and I want people to be grown-ups. I was very happy to see this at Tablet Magazine. It's honesty, and honesty is good. You know what the problem with my people are? You don't know the problem? See, there's an honest conversation culturally, and there's a dishonest conversation culturally. The honest conversation about my people, Jews, especially liberal Jews, they're really stupid. And yes, they vote like they have a death wish, and they act like they have a death wish. And I'll take on anybody on this subject. Haven't you seen enough? The churches have, that's why they have security patrols that are fantastic. This is Tony Katz today. Good Lord. All right, I have more bourbon to look at. See, that's how I keep things light. I'll look at the bourbon right here. So let's see what I've got. So that was Old Forester. No, I'm good on, I don't need, we've already done Beam. I'm looking at what to do for the Cigar and Bourbon show. The Bullet Rye, already done that. The Evan Williams Bottled and Bond is actually not bad. I actually have some Evan Williams somewhere over here. That was fine. What is this right here? The 1792 small batch. That's a nice bourbon. Been a while since we've done that. Larceny, also good. That's a wheated. Ooh, the New Riff 6-year. That's not bad either. But I've done a bunch of these. I've done the Basil Hayden. I've done the Bullet. This is just a basic Woodford. Nothing wrong with Woodford. No, that's all no. I've done them. I have got some Four Roses Small Batch Select, which I love. Might do that. So we've got 3 more things to get to. What did M-Dog say? I didn't see it. Yeah, I did the Booker's already. So Booker's has, Costco has the milkshake batch. And if you haven't had it, it's $99. It's the best bourbon I've had all year. The milkshake batch, I've got a bottle of it. Where do I have it? Hold on. I got stuck. Come on. There you go. Scooting over. Right there. So you can see that the 2026-02. There on the orange label. This is the best bourbon I have had all year. It's 124.4 proof. 7 years, 6 months, 12 days aged. This Booker's is out of control good. Absolutely spectacular. All right, let me get prepared here. Talking about bourbon when I need to be prepared. All right, there's that. And then there's this. There we go. Perfection. Absolute perfection. I need to stop calling bourbon lovely. Okay. I didn't realize this was such a threat to your masculinity. That's something you may want to work on. 3 more things. Tony Katz today. Good to be here. Good to be with you. 3 more things. What are 3 more things? I'll tell you. 3 more things. These are stories that should be front page news, but because of all the front page news, doesn't make the front page. Does not make the front page, and that's why I bring it to you right now. 3 more things, and I have got a bunch of stuff. Starting with the WNBA, they have recognized they made a mistake. Oh no, they still don't know how to say that the WNBA stands for women in the W, right? It's the Women's National Basketball Association. They still can't do that. But they admit that they threw out a mother and daughter improperly, when they said to them, hey, you're at this game between the Fever and the Atlanta Dream, and you're wearing these XXXY t-shirts, the athletic brand. Well, you can't wear those. And here, we'll give you these shirts. You have to wear these instead. And they're like, we're not doing that. And they got thrown out from the game. And now they have a statement that says the WNBA is aware of interactions at last night's game in Atlanta in which fans were asked by league security to cover their shirts. This should not have happened. The Atlanta Dream believes in creating a safe and inclusive environment for everyone. Unfortunately, at last night's game, WNBA security took actions that fell short of that standard. At no point was Dream personnel involved in the decisions made by WNBA security. I will tell you that this is going to sound weird. Mistakes like this happen. Understand that it's not a mistake. It's the wrong use of the word, but I needed to start the conversation somehow. What happens is that there is no discussion of rationality amongst people of a certain set, and sometimes this is true of youth, younger people. I have made mistakes in my younger days as well, where you're told, well, this is a problem, and look out for these people, and these people are a problem. Looking out for a problem is different than whether or not someone is a problem. And so somewhere along the line, what security was told, oh, these people with the XXXY t-shirts, you got to look out for them. Oh, these people who want to talk about the gender, this, that, and the other, you got to look out for them. They're going to be a problem. And so my guess, and it is purely a guess, but it's a guess based on what happens when something isn't discussed in full, is that someone looked at that t-shirt and saw somebody else said, oh, they're wearing the t-shirts. Hey, they're wearing the t-shirts. Yo, Tommy, they're wearing the t-shirts. And that's when they went into security mode. I've actually, in my younger days, did something this dumb. Oh, I've done dumb things before. We've all done dumb things before. You admit it. You're like, that was dumb. Don't do that again. You try not to do that again. Then you tell people don't do that either. Because it's dumb. I did it. Why waste your time? I did it. I'm telling you it's dumb. Now you don't have to do it. See, you saved yourself from doing something dumb. I think that's what happened. So the WNBA, the dream statement is the WNBA is aware of the interaction at last night's game in Atlanta, in which fans were asked by league security to cover their shirts. This should not have happened. That's it. Now, I don't know if apologies were made or anything else happened. I don't have the answer to that. What I know is that this won't be the last time. I will bet you any amount of money that there will be people upset with the WNBA for apologizing. They're going to be very upset. And you know what they're going to say? Sure, WNBA, you apologize to the white woman and her white daughter. Sure, we get it. I will bet you a rack of ribs that this is going to happen. Guaranteed. This is going to happen. Guaranteed. Unquestionable. No doubt. This is going to 1,000% take place. The media, the WNBA media is going to be angry about this, and they're going to bring this up. You can say that it was the security all you want. The security was discussing this because of things going on in the WNBA, and nothing was ever communicated down. This is how we handle this, that, and the other. All they were told is be on the lookout. The WNBA didn't have the presence of mind to say, don't do this, don't do that. They already knew that these things were happening. I didn't say it was the first time. This has already been something that had been going on, and the people wearing these shirts and going to the games and having these conversations. So I would argue they should have known. I definitely will tell you that it will be WNBA media who say the WNBA was wrong for apologizing, and that they are apologizing. It's only because they're white. I believe that's going to come. 10,000% that's going to come. Then you had Jared Kushner in Israel engaging negotiations regarding the ceasefire in Gaza, where the Israelis are saying, We are not going to get involved in anything until Hamas disarms. We're not going to agree to leave until Hamas disarms. No matter what you think of Jared Kushner, no matter what you think of Steve Witkoff, they're the ones who are leading this negotiation charge. Okay, fine. Why would anybody think the Israelis would leave only to allow Hamas, an armed Hamas, to refortify? Why would anybody think that this is possible? Why would anybody think this is going to happen? There was no negotiation at Ruby Ridge or at Waco that allowed David Koresh to refortify. What? Oh, I always find that part of American history, recent American history, to get people to say, wait, what did he just say? Israelis aren't going to do that, and everybody knows it. So why would anybody suggest it? Why would Jared Kushner actually seriously suggest to the Israeli government, pull everybody out and then Hamas will give up their guns? The Israelis are not woke Americans. They know these people can't be trusted, and they know Hamas has to be destroyed. I don't even know what they're necessarily doing with the peace plan. And what happened to the Board of Peace? What happened to the investments? Where are we on this? And Kushner met with the Hamas leaders in Egypt. You had the former prime minister, Tony Blair, also in the meeting with Netanyahu. If we want the quote-unquote Palestinians to have their life in a better place, you have to get rid of the terrorists who are ruining their lives. That's Hamas. It's always been Hamas. They live in an open-air prison. Hamas created the open-air prison. Hamas ripped the water pipes out of the ground that the Israelis put there when the Israelis gave it up, which brings us to a whole nother conversation about this idea of occupied land. They win it in a war. They don't start the war. They end the war. They win the land. Somehow it's occupied. Shut up. This leftist lie garbage. Mehdi Hassan, you child. The Golan, the West Bank, all Israel. The world doesn't recognize it? Screw them. That's like saying that somewhere in Mexico, someone doesn't recognize that California is part of the United States. Who cares? Remember when Absolute Vodka was doing those ads of Reconquista? Absolute Reconquista, and it showed like Arizona and California, and like Mexico was going to take it back. No. I've always argued that if you want it back, we'll give it back to you, but we're pulling every piece of copper out of the ground. You don't get any running water. You don't get any electricity. All the buildings will be raised. The earth will be salted. You figure out how to cultivate it. Do you have any idea what it was like for Israelis and they gave the Palestinians Gaza? As Beth reminds in the chat room, they pulled 10,000 Jews out of Gaza. These people, this was their home. And they begged with the Israeli military and pleaded, don't do this. And they were dragged out of their homes. And they said, you will regret it. Yeah, those people were right. It's why I oppose the very concept of the name settler. No, it's Israeli land. They can live wherever they wish. You've got Muslims and Arabs and Christians and Jews all living in Israel, fine and no issue. Let's talk about where we have issues. I mean, if we're going to engage this thing honestly. By the way, that isn't some adoration for Israeli government. That isn't adoration for every Politico. I can appreciate that Ben-Gvir wants to be a guy who's tough and is tired of the terrorism. Man, he is not good at the presentation. No how. He's not. I've met plenty of politicos who aren't good at the presentation. He takes heat. Yeah, he takes heat. Some of it well-deserved. But you're going to walk away and let the terrorists refortify, and you think that this is something you could do? If Jared Kushner thinks this, Jared Kushner's a schmuck. Period. Same with Witkoff. Same with anybody else. It's the most unsurprising thing in the world. Then there is this. Some people are really weird. And some people have no belief in privacy. And some people are weird and have no belief in privacy. And we shouldn't think them as doing something cool. Former Congressman Matt Gaetz, I'm not a fan, was on a flight. And he's texting with his mother. His mother is texting, hey, stop getting on Trump's case. He's been very, very good to you. Don't mess up the TV gig. Your political career is over. Just, focus. And he's responding, I've got this, I've got that. I got $500,000 in the bank. I'm fine. I guess I'm doing all right. All right, that's a conversation you're having with your mom, and people have weird conversations with their mom, and you do too. Somebody took video of his text messages. That's how we know about this. Someone took video of the text messages. Maybe I shouldn't be talking about it. I'm adding to it. I'm saying the story's already out there. It's front page of the New York Post. What are you doing videotaping someone's text messages? When they see you videotaping them, and you're a man or a woman, and they punch you in the face, you will have deserved it. I'm not suggesting people go around punching people in the face. I'm saying here's what's going to happen. What's wrong with you? It's their text message. Stop. I don't care if they're an elected official. Stop being weird. Good Lord. And this is why you got to protect yourself, including your data, because there are people snooping. They're after it all over the place. And these data brokers, they get all your information, and they get your text, your address, and they get your emails, and they get your medical records, and they package it up and they sell it. This multi-billion-dollar industry of data brokers. They know way too much about you, and they are scamming Americans out of $20 billion plus each and every year because they're prepared with your data. You need to get prepared, and you need to keep your data safe with Incogni. INCOGNI. Incogni.com/cats. That's where you go. Get 60% off right now. Incogni goes to the data brokers. They legally remove your data, and if they try and put the data back on to these data broker sites, Incogni is there keeping it off so you are safe, so your family is safe, so your kids' names are not out there for the scammers to get. Incogni.com/cats. Go right now. Incogni.com/cats. Keep your data safe and get 60% off using my last name, Katz. Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. So they're starting to come out with the stories and the data about the death of Hayden Panettiere, the actress, age 36. Dude, this girl could not catch a break. Could not catch a break. My point is, they're going to pour over her. She got sexualized as a kid. Her career falters. They mock her. She comes back at Nashville. They do it again. She writes a book talking about the horrors of it all and postpartum depression and everything else. 3 months later, she's dead. And it's going to be salacious all over again. It's just, it's awful. It just is what it is. It's awful. I'm not going to do that story. I just don't want to play in. Why thousands of Florida's workers are disappearing. That's the Wall Street Journal headline. Now, Florida, you've got the primaries tonight. Oh, I will be watching. Really interesting stuff to come out of Florida, specifically in the race between the communist, Oliver Larkin, and the Democrat, Jared Moskowitz, because this is going to be a race of whether or not the Jew who supports Israel gets nominated again. How strong are the commies? I mean, this is going to be the story. And then there's Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who's an 11-term member of Congress. She's running in a district she doesn't live in, which is allowed, by the way, because she got redistricted. And people are upset that she's running because it's a minority-majority district. And who is this white woman to represent them? So we've got bigotry in one race and bigotry in another race. Florida's fascinating tonight. Be watching. And there are primaries, I think, in Wyoming, and there's a special election in California to replace Congressman Eric Swalwell, who actually did have sex with the Chinese spy, and no one cared. Well, we cared, but Democrats didn't care. But this is a story about how home care agencies and others have had to shut down because we ended temporary protected status, because we're stopping illegal immigrants from getting to the United States, because of these actions to protect the border. Less workers. Allow me. Okay. Some things are going to be unsettling. Some things are going to take time. We're going to have to rethink how these jobs work. But how could anybody think that it's okay to say, well, as long as we have someone there to pretend to take care of grandma, it doesn't matter who else we've let into the country? There are no solutions. There are only trade-offs. Well, this is one place where it applies. I'm going to dig into more of this. Keep it here. I got a lot to get to. It's Tony Katz today. So I have no idea what happened with today's live stream. I must have done something or an issue and things did not pick up everywhere. But I love you. I'm glad you were here. I absolutely love that you were here. This is as much as it's the bane of my existence, right? I'm a radio guy. This is like my raison d'etre. Figuring this out and getting success in the stream. That's where I'm at. This has to happen. Claudia, if you have any ideas, I'm all in. This success must take place. I will not accept anything else. I just won't do it. I appreciate you guys being here tremendously. October 8th, that's when we have trivia night. That's October 8th. It may get moved because of the floods in Indiana. We've been really focused on giving the help there. You can go to WIBC.com if you want to give. If you can, it's always appreciated. The damage is real, and lives are going to get changed for forever. And there are people still not back in their homes, and they may not be back in their homes ever. Yeah, it's going to be very, very rough. So we might delay. We might do that. We'll see. But check out WIBC.com for that. I am back tomorrow at noon. So you want to be there every Monday through Friday from noon till I decide to be done. And then, of course, the show continues at WIBC.com. I can't thank you guys enough for being here. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. And I'll catch you tomorrow, everybody. Thanks. Take care.